Battle lines are drawn and it is well and truly war now, on the cricket pitch and now off it too. If the Indian Premier League has the impact player rule where a 12th person comes in to be a part of what has always been a traditional playing 11, the Australian cricket team has that too. Their 12th player is their own media. The Aussie media, who do a fine job of triggering mind games, inciting, throwing accusations and more. They play their part in building up the hostile environment that the visitors are anyway going to be subjected to when they enter the field. The latest in this growing standoff between India and Australia that's over the weeks intensified at the Border Gavaskar Trophy is centred around what transpired at the MCG, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, over the weekend. Ravindra Jadeja was called in for a visiting journalist alone press briefing, meaning a short press conference at the side of the net session at the ground itself, only involving Indian journalists. The Aussie press were informed of this by the Australian counterparts, so they crowded in too. Jadeja was asked questions in Hindi, one of the prominent languages in India, and he answered in Hindi too. He was there for around 10 to 15 minutes and left. The Aussie press was furious and accused Jadeja of purposely speaking in Hindi and how they were not allowed to ask any questions. Of course, this is all of what the Aussie press reported. Of course, 9 News saying the pressure is intensifying and the tourists are adopting a siege mentality. That's what 9 News, of course, said. Many coming in and calling Ravindra Jadeja's press conference a pathetic act in the wake of Virat Kohli's airport clash with the reporter. Of course, the Australian media going on to also call this petulant and surly. Aren't India wonderful ambassadors for their country and Test cricket? Ravi Jadeja faced media today and refused to answer questions in English. Sen says it's too ugly. Tensions rise between India and Australia after the Jadeja press conference. There's more, of course. A lot of the media, in fact, also calling this disorganized and hopeless. So a lot of backlash there coming for India via the Australian media. Now, this needs to be set straight. That press conference was for Indian journalists alone. A lot of teams do that depending on various reasons, the situation, the circumstances, and they do that through a series in pockets. Even so, the team manager did not stop the Aussie media from being there. It's just that many questions were not fielded. There was little time. Even all the Indian journalists did not get time in to ask in their questions. The other point, of course, I need to make, Jadeja did not refuse to speak in English. He spoke in the language that he's comfortable in and the language that he was being asked the questions in. And why is that wrong? No one questions and berates a Lionel Messi who chooses to speak in the language that he's comfortable in, and that's not English. The Australian media even had a heated verbal exchange with the Indian team manager right after and have criticized the Indian media saying that they are Indian team saying that they're employing siege mentality. What that phrase means is a collective state of mind where a group of people, here in this case the Indian team, believes that they are being attacked or oppressed. But where did Jadeja's disposition entail any of this? He chose to speak in the language he knows. Any cricket journalist who's covered cricket and who's interviewed Jadeja would attest to that. Of course, what's happened post this reportage? I'll tell you, there was a friendly T20 match that was scheduled to take place on Sunday between the Indian and Australian journalists, the media. That got called off because they did not have enough people. Why? Because a section of the Indian media decided to boycott that friendly. It's not just the media who have thrown judgment over the Indian cricket team. Former Aussie cricketer Simon Katich has also shown his displeasure with this incident.
There's been a few things unfolding in the last week or so that haven't gone down well at that camp. It's probably just the mind games being played, given the enormity of this series. The media are here to promote the game, and I don't know what the Indians are thinking at the moment. That's their problem.
Of course, India commentator Irfan Pathan was quick to come to Jadeja and the Indian team's defense. All of this noise is, of course, turning into a bit of a din. That Virat Kohli episode, yes, you thought that airport scene was done and dusted, but no, Australian media and critics don't seem to have gotten over this. They have now called Virat Kohli a bully.
You're a batting superstar, you're a global superstar in the world of cricket, and he takes umbrage to the fact that the attention is focused on him. And then he stood over this girl, Nat Ioannidis, who's about 5'1", 5'2", and just absolutely berated her. You're nothing but a bully, Virat.
Now, we do not know what words exactly were used or what tone was used. We only heard Virat Kohli say, "Do not film his children." And I do not see what was wrong with that. He may have been agitated, yes. He may have been slightly irritated when he said it, but don't we all when we encounter something that upsets us over and over again? And we know he shook hands with the camera person after that exchange and walked away. But he's now being termed a bully for this episode. Dear Australian media, or some of you at least, I do have some friends over there, but let me tell you who is actually a bully. Former captain Ricky Ponting was when he told the umpire to give it out. This was a famous incident in that very infamous 2008 series between India and Australia, when Ponting took a catch and signaled to the umpire to give it out. And that was not even out, and a player has no business telling the umpire what decision to give. That's being a bully. But hey, do we know any better? Of course, addition to all of these, what reports also say is that the Indian team has been given flat tracks to train at leading up to that Melbourne test. The practice pitches reportedly had no bounce and nothing for the pacers. They say an Aussie tour is a trial by fire. This one is definitely proving to be one hot, boiling cauldron.